everybody. Today's Monday. That means it's time for a family movie night, and we're continuing on our series on Muppet May. And this I did last year, and now this is the second year that we're doing it, and I'm getting towards the end of the Muppet official movies. I still have one more to do, which I'll probably do next week, Muppets Most Wanted, which is my least favorite of the Muppet movies, but it's not like unwatchable, so I guess I'll do that next week. But I put out to my Twitter followers which Muppet movie I should watch, and one of the ones I listed was The Dark Crystal. And so if you're not following me on Twitter, you really should, because I'm super funny on Twitter, but also because I often will give you guys options of what I could be talking about, and so it's a chance for you to vote, and you can have some influence on family movie night. So it's pretty fun. So The Dark Crystal, it's a very, very interesting movie. You guys know, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know I am not a big fantasy person. I just find that they get kind of lost in all of the world building, and they forget to have a really good story. And so it often becomes very boring to me, and it's just not my favorite. Even as a little kid, I didn't really like reading fantasy novels. So how does 1982's The Dark Crystal, from Jim Henson and Frank Oz directed, how does it hold up? I mean, it's certainly an extremely bold, extremely ambitious film, and I had actually never seen it before this viewing, so that was a fun experience to watch. So let's talk a little bit about it. So The Dark Crystal, it tells a story of this world where there's this, obviously, this crystal, and the crystal it's kind of like the ring in Lord of the Rings. It's, sort of all powerful, and it gets it gets divided. It's shattered, I guess, and there's a shard of the crystal that ends up missing, and when it gets shattered, then it creates these two races. There's these things called the Skekkies, and they're kind of like big vultures, basically, and they're just really evil and really bad. And then there's this character named Jen, that's actually a male character, and of a different race. I forget. Oh, he's a Gelfling, and so he, kind of like the hobbits in Lord of the Rings, he ends up on a mission to go find the shard. He ends up meeting another Gelfling named Kira, and then they kind of interact on this little journey with different bad guys and good guys and all of that kind of thing, until they end up eventually winning in the end. So there you go. And I think this movie is fine. It's not my favorite, but it's certainly not the worst fantasy I've ever seen. I think the puppetry is incredible, unbelievable, how fluid, and just, it's really remarkable how great the puppetry is in this movie. I love all the attention to detail. It's almost like stop motion in a certain way, but just the textures of the skin, the textures and details of the costumes and the jewelry, and it's really impressive. Very, very, very impressive how they are able to get all of these, just the sense of realism in this world building. It's really great. And you don't see that kind of world building that much anymore, and it's all looks kind of CGI and stuff. It's really refreshing to watch, for sure. Voice acting is all really strong. It's not people that I'm like really familiar with, but I think they do a really good job. And so it's definitely very immersive, and you can tell that then they go on to make Labyrinth, which is kind of more bonkers than this. It's kind of more nutty, whereas this is more just sort of your standard fantasy story. I think that, the story is not the best, it's not the worst. It's very generic, I would say, the actual story. But the puppets are so great and the world building is so great that I think it makes up for it. It does drag, I think, this movie, like most sci-fi fantasy for me. It yeah. I think this movie would be significantly better if you watched it like 125 or 150 even, maybe. It's just like, oh my gosh, some of these scenes are just so drawn out. But it's not my genre, so I'm sure that the people super into fantasy just love that pacing. But anyway, I think that it has, a nice message, even though the images are kind of scary at times. It's not like Return to Oz, which to me is just sort of mean-spirited and cruel. Whereas this, I think, is actually has a positive message about. It's a very hopeful message at its core, about, never giving up, and that there is good will always defeat evil. And I don't know, there's just more of a hopeful message than Return to Oz or some of these not successful, darker fantasy movies, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I think this is fine. I think it's exceptional as far as the puppetry, exceptional as far as the world building. The story is serviceable, I guess. It's fine, but it's just not great, and it's a little slow. So there you go. That's my thoughts on The Dark Crystal. Let me know if you've seen it. What do you think of it? Is it one of your favorites? I would love to hear. And so yeah, I'd probably give it like a maybe like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. So let me know what you think of this, and thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later. Bye.